What's up, fam? It's Tuesday night. You know what it is? It's Flyers Talk A2D. NHL's back in action tomorrow night. We had a couple trades today, too. So the roster freeze is officially over. Got a lot to talk about. Flyers preview against the Washington Capitals tomorrow night, I believe, in Wells Fargo or Xfinity Mobile. Don't remember if it was home or away, but that's
Away.
semantics. But yeah, we're back to Flyers action. And then we also got USA Gold Sweep talk, both men and women's defeating Canada to bring home the gold for their countries. Lots to talk about. It's time to drop the puck for the face-off. Let's start the conversation. Jump in the comments. Hit that like and hit that subscribe as well. Let's go talk about it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sassuti along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
USA.
The Broken One, Rob Povia.
I'm extremely broken this week. Oh, man. If you live in the Northeast, you know what I'm talking about.
And we are brought to you by, as always, Specialized Physical Therapy. Listen, in this world of ours, every now and again, you find yourself just not feeling all that well, like sometimes you get caught where you're in pain or what have you. Well, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to settle with that. Go to the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over Specialized Physical Therapy. You can either make an appointment for Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. Once you go there, it'll be as good as new. You'll feel great. And that's all that you really need at the end of the day. And then you'll be as free as you can be to do whatever it is you like to do, whether it be, at home, relaxing, or, or what?
That could go a lot of different ways.
Listen, whatever you do on your own time is your own business. But listen, you ain't going to do it all that well with pain. So at the end of the day, go hit up the doc so that way you can make yourself happy once again. So on to our poll question. We have the Flyers will make a statement win on Wednesday against the Capitals to open up the final push of the season. Agree or disagree?
As much as I want to agree to this statement, and I want to just to try and spread some positivity out there because we need some positivity right now in the world. But I think I'm gonna have to disagree. As much as I would love to see them make a statement game and just make an example out of the Washington Capitals right now, I just don't think they can do it. Especially with all the trade rumors kind of floating around, trade deadlines, I believe March 6th. So, we're already seeing people getting traded. Seeing Sam Girard got dealt to the Colorado Avalanche, or from the Colorado Avalanche to the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier today. So I'm expecting to see some uncertainty coming from this Flyers team. I'm expecting to see a couple guys being sat also for health reasons to try and keep them healthy for the trade deadline to get a little bit more value out of the players like Ristolainen, and he to me is at the top of that list. But this is a team that's rusty. This is a team that's probably going to be a little slow to start, but I'm also expecting the same thing from the Capitals as well. It's just going to be the question is going to be which version of the Flyers are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that's been the last couple of weeks? Or are we going to find a Flyers team that was back in the beginning of the season, getting scoring from 3 out of the 4 lines, getting strong defensive play, getting good goaltending. Which goaltender are they starting? Is Sam Ersson getting the go, or is it going to be Dan Vladar? So a lot of questions up in the air. And obviously the situation with Matvei Michkov continues to, do its thing. But in his I guess you can call it a pregame presser this afternoon, He sounded pretty confident. It sounds like he's got his head kind of back on his shoulders. So we'll see with that. But I mean, as much as I want to be that homer, give you that good old positive, yeah, let's go, let's do this. I don't know if I see it happening today, boys.
All right, all right. Robbie, how about you?
Well, I'll be your homer, all right, for the show
Let's
tonight, and
go.
I'll agree to the poll. Hey, you make good points. You make good points, Brian. But the Caps also too will be rusty. They had the same amount of days
Mhm.
off, and I think it'll benefit their veterans for sure. An aging Alexander Ovechkin for sure, he'll be fresh. But it's really going to give these young kids of the Flyers a chance to catch their breath, like a Matvey Mitchov, who went down to the DR but was hitting the gym and working on his conditioning, maybe running in the sand like Rocky with Apollo Creed. We don't know what was going down there. Kind of combine the topics of today. But hey, look, it won't be easy. Washington's going to be out for blood to avenge that 4-2 loss prior to the break. But I like the matchup just like I liked it on February 3rd. The Flyers' major weakness has been the power play, but the Caps have been just as bad. So they aren't able to capitalize on it. I like puns.
For fun.
So the Caps won't capitalize on it. But when you look at their standings on the season, NHL, Washington's 26th on the power play to the Flyers 28th, and the Flyers have been looking pretty good on the power play leading up into the break. They've been working out in practice. They've been active. The veterans coming back. I could see Ristolainen maybe being stat, but I think they want to show off their asset for the trade deadline. And I think he's going to not only get playing time, but he's going to get playing time along Travis Sanheim on the number one D pair. I think they're going to be actively showing him and Tippett, because if that 8 points becomes 10 points or becomes 12 points, then it's an easy sell situation before the trade deadline, Maddie.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna say the Flyers do. I think that this was needed for the Flyers. They needed this rest. I think that that's what the problem was. Like, this was a team that's firing on all cylinders at the beginning of the year, and they were going at it hard. They were going at it as much as they could. But here's the problem. This is a team that is still needing to really, what's the good word for it? They need to find the ability to not only get off to the hot start, but to maintain it. And it's hard to do because even well-established teams get off to these great starts, these amazing starts, and even they stumble a little bit down the line. Sometimes they stumble towards the All-Star break. Sometimes they stumble towards the playoffs when it's really the worst time to stumble. And so I feel like it's not an uncommon thing. I just think that the problem is it's a little bit more pronounced because the Flyers are so young, and the fact that this is a team that hasn't been in the playoffs in a while. So naturally, there's going to be way more highlighting of the lack of consistency. But at the end of the day, I definitely think that the Flyers, I think, can come out and they can show it. I think they can. I think that, again, this is a young team that needed a break. They needed a break. They needed to calm down, and they needed to kind of woosah for a minute because they were getting rocked left and right by really good teams, and they were getting smacked in the mouth a little bit, and the rest of the league was like, all right, you had your fun. Here's reality. And now it's a chance for them to kind of say, okay, we're okay. Let's get back to what we were doing. And that's winning hockey games. Let's get back to being that pest, that team that, yeah, you might be up 2-0 on us now, but we're going to be up 3-2 on you before you know it. And that's the kind of situation that this provides. It provides an opportunity for them. Now, no doubt about, they need Michkov to really get going. I will say that right now. If first half, we can kind of say, all right, he came out, he was not in shape, He was not ready. He had to catch up in the first half. So, all right, rough situation there. You've had your break. You've had a chance to get back in shape. You've had a chance to get your win back. Let's see it now. Let's see you come out in the second half strong. You know, you can chalk the first half up as, okay, you made a mistake in the offseason and you paid the price for it. Second half of the season, you've had your break, you're back in shape. Let's go. Let's make this shit happen. You know, let's get the ball rolling. You know,
Like what I'm
whether,
hearing.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's what I think the Flyers will do. I think the Flyers will come out swinging in the second half. I think that they're going to start with the Capitals.
I would love to see Mitchkov come out swinging. I saw Prez's comment that kind of really set the idea and kind of the ball rolling in my head, thinking it back on his interview this afternoon. One of the things that I liked that he said was that he started feeling more like himself coming the last like 10 games before the break. He started finding some good opportunities. He started making some better plays. He's putting himself in better position. And I think that hopefully this break allowed him to do a lot more conditioning, which from what it sounds like he did a lot while he was down in the Caribbean. And that's a good thing, obviously, because they're going to need him. Regardless of if they make the playoffs this year or not, they need him in the second half. They need him to kind of start finding his scoring touch again. Now, statistically, he's not far off from where he was last year. So I know it looks a little bit worse than it did, but I'm not too worried about Mitchkov and what he's doing. I know that a lot of people are asking some pretty shaky questions now, and I'm not asking myself any of those questions after year two. Year two. I'm going to say it one more time. Year two. Connor Bedard had an off year last year, and he's a franchise guy. Give Mitchkov another 2 years, 3 years maybe, to see how he continues to develop and how he grows from this situation. Now, I'm not ready to hurl him out the door like some people are, but this kid's a star, and he's got that star mentality. And the difference between the KHL and the NHL, he has to learn to play defense. And that's been his biggest bugaboo, I think. He's starting to kind of put some things together. Now, some people like to say being on the off wing. I think that's kind of a little bit of a cop-out excuse, but he's adjusting, and he knows he has to adjust. So he's a professional. He's an NHL player. He has to take this situation that he has had this season, and he's just got to grow from it, learn from it. And I think he's starting to. And I think we're going to see a much different Matvei Michkov in this second half here, boys, and they're going to need him to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to say agree. I think the Flyers will come out with a chip on their shoulder here, and they're going to say, all right, what happened? We stumbled in the end of that first half. We're going to show that we're capable of doing more. You know, that what happened there was just a stumble. You know, was it a really bad stumble? Yeah, this was one of those stumbles where they kind of face planted, but you can pick yourself up off the ground, pick up your teeth too while you're at it. And, you know, then come back out in the second half and, you know, find that rhythm again. Find that ability to be that team again, where when it came down to the wire, you could go up against anybody and you could beat them. Because that's how it was at the beginning of the season. See them get back to it, and I think they can. Prism was saying, hopefully y'all aren't like me waiting for Martone, like I'm just waiting for Frundell coming to Chicago. Competitive hockey late in the season is the most fun sport as a fan. It is. It is. It's the most intense, the most anxiety inducing, but it is also very fun.
And the most beneficial for development as well. I don't think you develop as well when you're just packing it in early, you know, and you're not sniffing the playoffs. Play competitive hockey. You know, I'd love to get Martone in tow, but at the end of the day, this team's going to come out with snarl. It's indicative of the head coach that they hired in year one. You think anyone wants to make it work here in Philadelphia more than Rick Tocchet? So you have, 26 games left to make a statement.
Yeah. I can't wait for Martone. Just the way he's playing in Michigan State right now. I think he's ready. I think you need to do everything you can to get him to sign that ELC, regardless of if it's this year or next year. But I'm pushing more towards next year, so that way you don't burn that 1 year.
And Priz is saying, I've been watching you all for like 5 years now.
It's been longer
Man,
than that.
really? It's been
I,
longer?
I feel like
Wow.
it's been longer than that.
Hey, either way, though, Priz, we appreciate you, brother. We really do.
Yeah, man.
And I don't know how y'all stomach your own fan base. I've never, ever seen a portion of a fan base turn on a young stud like they have on Mitchkov. It's a normal Philly thing to do, unfortunately. I mean, it's just how it is. You know, unless you're coming out of the gate and you are just lighting shit up like Lindros did when he came over, or like you're coming out of the gate just crushing it. No one is going to give you any breaks. They just expect you to be Stanley Cup winning quality right off the bat. You know, the impatience in this entire town is staggering. And you know, I get some people are frustrated because of the fact that the Flyers haven't won a cup since 75. It's like, I get it. It sucks. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't change how teams have to rebuild. You know, that's just how it is. The hockey world ain't going to stop because you haven't seen a cup since 75. That's just how it goes. You
There's
know?
teams with longer droughts. Do you use it as an excuse or do you use it as fuel and motivation?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
100%.
And I mean, hell, look at Toronto. Toronto hasn't even been to the Stanley Cup final since they last won the cup back in 60 fucking 7. So, I mean, like, think about that for 2 seconds. You know, the Flyers have at least been to the finals multiple times since winning in 75. Have they won it? No, but they've been getting back there. So, again, just cool it here for a second. Let
like,
the young kid develop.
and that's the crazy part. It's not just hockey, like, and it's not just rookies either. It's all the sports. How many people were calling for Jalen Hurts? He was just a Super Bowl MVP a year ago, and he got off to a rocky start, and he didn't have a great season by any stretch. But there were people saying that, oh, maybe we should trade him up. Maybe we need to draft another quarterback. Oh, Tanner McKee's the answer. Like nobody in the city is allowed to have an off season, and it's crazy to me. And it's every sport. It's not just the Flyers. It's not just the Eagles. It's the Phillies, the Sixers. It's all of them. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
A quick aside, I saw this funny ass reel of a Canadian hockey fan all dejected for losing the gold medal game, and his girlfriend's filming him and he goes, "Oh, honey, it's okay. At least you got the Toronto Maple Leafs."
Ooh.
And then he got up and like checked her.
Guarantee you he was sleeping outside. He didn't even get the couch. He was gone.
He was probably wrapped up in a Canadian flag, though, at least. So there is that.
That's all he's got to keep him warm.
Right. But all that being said, though,
Oh, that's funny.
the Flyers and Capitals, they are the next matchup for the Flyers here. So very weird how it wound up being where they bookended each other on a home and home, I guess, in a very weird way. So the Flyers won the game against Washington. Well, they didn't really bookend it because Ottawa was the last game before the break. But still, it's kind of like that. Flyers did win the last meeting between these two squads in Philly. They will be in Washington this go around, so it'll be a little different. So we will be where the red, white, and blue is being worn. So the question is, guys, we know obviously the Flyers have had their chance to rest and recoup. So have the Capitals. Obviously, for younger players who were really struggling down the stretch, this is a good opportunity for them to kind of reflect, take a moment, take a step back at their game and think about what they were doing wrong, why they weren't getting the results they were hoping to get. Maybe take a little extra time in practice and really take that time to work on fundamentals and things like that. For veteran players like, say, Washington, not to say they wouldn't work on fundamentals, but the point is that for veteran players, it's a chance for them to catch their breath after the first stretch of the first half. So my question is, boys, who do you think this benefits more? Do you think it benefits Washington more, or do you think it benefits a young up and coming team like the Flyers more?
I benefits them equally. I think for different reasons. As we said in the opening, that the young players get a chance to really catch their breath when they're like that young arm in baseball that's up against that innings, max of their career, and they're really on fumes, right? So they got a nice 20-day reprieve to catch their breath. Whereas the veterans, that are long in the tooth for the Capitals. I mean, they got the young players too. That this isn't the same old. This is why the Capitals have been resurgent. That they have gotten younger, so they benefit in that way too. But you think more of the vets like Ovechkin, they'll use this break. I think maybe contrary to my beliefs to the tonight's faceoff poll, that a more veteran, experienced team will be less prone to rust. I think, Brian, you talked about that earlier, that could benefit the Caps, that they'll show less rush. I definitely feel on home ice, you expect, if you're the Philadelphia Flyers, a barrage in that first 8 or 10 minutes where Caps are going to come in, where their intent is to get not only a goal lead, but maybe multiple goal lead, right? And that's what you got to withstand. But I think this Flyers team has shown, they've played well 5-on-5 with this team. Both, as I said, both teams have been, mediocre at best on the penalty kill and substandard in the bottom 5 of the league on the power play. But the Flyers do own an edge in penalty kill, so they have the ability to win the special teams matchup in this game. And that's ultimately where this game is won and lost, boys, is that if the Flyers can play discipline as well as show creativity in their transition game, which has always been a strength of this team, and elicit those penalties, that's how they can continue the script from before the break, as Capitals try to even up the season series at 1 game apiece. Last year, this Capitals team was undefeated against the Flyers, so they have more. They were 4-0 against the Flyers, so I mean a little bit different, squads on each side, but still, they definitely will have that confidence building in for this matchup, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, in ways it definitely benefits both. I definitely think for certain guys, maybe a guy like a Tom Wilson, who didn't really get a chance to take a break, could be not as beneficial. So you might be able to take advantage of a guy who basically played the entire Olympic break. And he's not just a guy, like he's a big piece of that. He's a big piece of that team. So maybe you can take advantage of having him that's still a little winded. So maybe you can do that. But honestly, I think it might benefit the Flyers a little bit more, Maddie, to kind of answer your question. You have definitely a younger team, and I think having the younger team will be the bigger benefit, because you're going to have the guys who are going to be able to be a little bit quicker and have the stronger legs. And whereas the Capitals, being a veteran team, they have the knowledge, the know-how, and the experience on how to kind of overcome some of those situations that they're going to run into. Now, for the Flyers, I think they absolutely have to set this tone and do exactly what you said, Robbie, that the Capitals are going to do, get 1-2 goals there. I think absolutely 100% the Flyers need to be the team to crack that first. And I think once they get that first one, I think they're going to take a little bit of a breather, and I think they're going to kind of step up their game a little bit more. But I think the biggest question is going to be, we know the youth, the young legs, the speed. I guess the question is going to be, how is Rick Tocchet going to react to being back in the NHL after losing the gold medal game? I think that might play a little bit of a part in this entire game as well, at least for the first couple anyway.
Possibly. I mean, obviously, Travis Sanheim played on Team Canada as well. So, I mean, I would expect Travis Sanheim I would expect him to want to play with a chip on his shoulder after that. But there's that side of it. I know that Vladar, he played for the Czech Republic. So, you have a couple of Flyers, and Rasmus Ristolainen won a bronze with Finland. So, you have a few Flyers that didn't have the break. That may very well possibly be something that could benefit them in the long run of that, possibly. It also could have the negative effect, double-edged sword, where you didn't have the break, whereas somebody else did. But then again, for somebody like Vladar, who's been playing really, really well, I mean, this might very well be the perfect thing for that because Vladar got to stay hot, he got to stay focused, and he got to stay ready to go
Mm,
coming into this game against Washington. Because, I
good point.
mean, I would assume Vladar's starting against Washington. So that may be a big benefit for the Flyers there. Risto might be, hopefully he won't be exhausted. Hopefully he'll be motivated, if anything, for having played for his home country. Sanheim's going to be interesting because, I mean, obviously playing in the gold medal game and being on the losing side of it, hopefully it's not deflating to him. But, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily think it would be. Sanheim seems like he's a strong enough player to handle that. I mean, my God, you've played on the Flyers for so long, you have to be used to disappointment. So at the end of the day,
True
Um,
story.
yeah, that's a great point though. Honestly, like if Vladar winds up being the starting goaltender tomorrow night, I think that's gonna give the Flyers a much bigger benefit, honestly, because you have the goaltender that's been basically playing and he's a little bit more loose and limber after not sitting there and getting any um downtime to kind of tighten up a little bit. So, and I know the guys have been practicing for the last week or so, so they're loosening up a little bit more. You had Bjarnason who got called up to the main roster to practice with the big guys. Bonk, Bump, and I think somebody else got called up to the big roster to practice with the big boys. So, that's definitely going to be an advantage to getting loosened up again. But, to your point, Vladar coming back and playing that amount of time, I think would definitely be a benefit over Logan Thompson or Charlie Lindgren, whoever winds up starting for Chicago. I think that's going to give the Flyers a little bit more of an edge.
yeah. So as we go here, Ryan saying Flyers need to make trades, not contend.
I'll do both.
I'm assuming that's Swoopy, who
Mhm.
is, yeah.
Yeah, apparently
Would-
saying Facebook isn't working, but it seems to be working on my end.
Interesting.
No, I'm not getting it either. It's just it's streaming in the story as a story, but it's not on. So if you go to access the HUD radio stories, you can gain access to the live feed, but it's not in the main feed. But that's all right. There's plenty of ways to maybe boys will talk about it where you could find us.
Right.
YouTube, Twitter. That's pretty much it. If you don't catch us live, you can always catch us on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, SoundCloud, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Right.
We're everywhere.
Right.
Can't find us one spot, you can find us somewhere else.
Right. So let's take a look here and see. So the Flyers and the Caps tomorrow facing off with each other. From what I'm seeing here, I did look up that the Flyers' schedule strength is about 13th in the whole league. So that is interesting. That could prove to be a bit of an ask for a young team because 13's pretty high for strength in the schedule. But that's also because you're in the Eastern Conference and you have literally 6 or 7 teams all competing for 2 wildcard spots right now. So that's going to add to that issue. And that's not including the division teams right now because they're pretty damn good too. So you're going to have a rough go of it. The Eastern Conference is it's a bloodbath. And it will be going down the stretch to see who's going to get those 2 wild card spots. What up, Greg?
What up, Greg?
So, as I take a look here, after the Flyers take on the Capitals, they would then on Thursday take on the Rangers. Then they face the Bruins, then the Maple Leafs, then the Mammoth, then the Penguins, then the Rangers again, then the Capitals again, then the Wild, and then the Blue Jackets, and then the Ducks. Hey, Bri. And the Kings, and then the Sharks.
And
then
you
the
still
Blue
can't avoid
Jackets.
Panarin.
Yeah. So it going down the stretch, I could see what they mean. I mean, there's a lot of tough teams that the Flyers are going to have to go up against here. I mean, the the weakest team out of the bunch. I mean, honestly, it would be
The Rangers.
yeah, it's
It
the
has to be the
Rangers.
Rangers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's it's a rough schedule. It's a rough schedule the Flyers have got coming out of this break.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, just off the first couple that you named, obviously you're starting tough against the Capitals. Yeah, they may not necessarily be in a playoff spot right now, but they're battling for it, and a couple wins, and they're right back in it. This Eastern Conference this year has been just absolutely absurd with talent and how good teams have gotten over the last couple years. So
Mhm.
that goes to show just how good this conference is, how good this league is, and how good, as much as people don't want to give him the credit, how well Gary Bettman is running this league, running the league, as he's coming up on his either his last year or his last couple of years. I think he said when his contract's up, he's going to retire. But it's just crazy to me that it's still so close. And it's basically down into like the final two teams in the Eastern Conference, and everybody else has a winning record. So, if the Flyers can string together a couple against some of these teams, they're right back in it. So, all they have to do is just handle their business and just let everything else happen.
Right.
Right.
I
Let
mean,
the other chips fall.
it's been so tight that literally, if the Flyers have a strong January, or I'm sorry, has a strong March, they're right back in the thick of it. Because they had built enough of a cushion in the first half that even when they were stumbling towards the break, they didn't crash into dead last or into a permanently negative position. There's
Yeah.
still that ability for them. If they, like you said, they string together some wins and they have a strong March, they have a very good shot of still being competitive in the wild card race. Does that mean they'll get it? Hell no. But it does mean that at the end of the day, they could be in the running for it. The question is, how's everybody else going to do?
Yeah.
That's the real question. Is anyone going to fall off as we get further and further away from the break and closer to April?
And,
So,
depending on how the next 26 game goes, will play a pretty good effect on how free agency could potentially go for the Flyers. Is it going to attract the talent? Is it going to sit there and be like, I don't know, the final 26 games, I don't want to touch this team with a 20-foot pole.
mm,
So I think the next 26 games are going to be extremely important for the Flyers as far as being able to kind of plan for, the draft, being able to plan for free agency, any trades, anything like that. So I think that's going to play a big part. And I think the best way to do that is, as much as I don't think it's going to happen, you figure out a way to make a statement win against the Capitals. And then you string together 3 or 4, 4 or 5, 4 or 6, something along those lines.
right. So let's just take a quick gander here just to see what everything's looking like right now as of this moment in the league before everything gets back into the swing of things and then it goes crazy again and the standings switching every day like it was prior to this. So as it stands right now, second half of the season getting ready to start up in the East, you currently have the Flyers sitting in 7th position in the wild card race at 61 points. They are tied currently with the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. And they are only 2 points behind Toronto and Ottawa. And not for nothing, Toronto has not exactly been wowing anybody. Neither has Florida this year. Ottawa, though, might be a testy team. Washington has 65. Columbus has 65. That's going to be a challenge because Columbus has no intention of stopping what they've started, and Washington's always a frustrating team. They're kind of like Boston. They're like a fucking cockroach. You step on them, they keep coming back. That's just how it is. That they don't go away. And then the wild cards right now is currently Boston and Buffalo. So again, fucking Boston. Just like, would they just go away, please? No one likes you. Go away. Seriously. Say that also about the Penguins. They don't want to go away either. But anyway, so point being is that it's still a very winnable race for the most part. I mean, there is a bit of a fall off here though, because it's about a 4-point difference between Boston and Columbus. And there's a 5-point difference between them and Buffalo. So looking at it from that angle, boys, it's interesting. I feel like Buffalo and Boston have to go on some losing streaks. There has to be a point where, at least from what I'm seeing, Boston has to slip and Buffalo has to slip in order for one of these teams to really catch up to them. I mean, but it's close enough to where even if they lose 3 games in a row, that's enough for them to get caught at the end of the day. So, in my opinion, boys, looking at the way that this standing is going right now, I feel like the Flyers, from what I'm seeing, they got to string together like, I'm going to say they got to string together like 5-6 games. I know that's a lot to ask for, but I feel like that's what they got to do in order for them to really catch one of these other teams in the wild card. Boston needs to slip and Buffalo needs to slip. If the Flyers can get 6 or 5 games where they either, if not winning in regulation, but getting a point at least, even if you're taking an OTL, you're at least gaining something on a team that might be slipping. I feel like that's going to make a difference. If they could get on a streak, they will be able to make up some ground that they lost here.
No, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, you got to string together the wins. I don't necessarily know if they need like 5 or 6, but you definitely hope that you can gain a couple games on Boston, a couple games on Buffalo. These teams have been just absolutely hot. Buffalo, especially of late.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely want to try and gain some ground here. And I mean, the only thing that they can do is control what they can control, right, Robbie? I mean, you can't expect these other teams to win. You just got to be able to handle your own business.
All right.
Exactly. And how you do that is not giving away those second points. And that's what we saw too much in the first, I don't want to say the first half because it was 2/3 of the season that was played before the break, the Olympic break. But you get my point, though, is that if you can, steal that second point in an overtime or shootout, right? If you can, when you have control of the game, don't let that team creep in and steal a point from you, right? Where you could get those 2 points right in regulation, call it a day. Hit the locker room, the Bernie's mask around, and go have some soda pops. You know what I mean? So that's how you got to do it. And you got to, build upon what you did well, right? Now, this is a Flyers team that won pretty convincingly over the Caps 4-2 before the Olympic break. And you got to, use what you did well in that game, like we talked about earlier, and get off to a good start. You got to handle the teams, right, that are lower than you, like New York Rangers, right? There are a lot of teams that a lot of tough matchups in these 26 games, but you're facing a lot of teams that you need to leapfrog. So it's there, and I think either way, it's a no-lose situation because you get to see what this team has made up today. February 24th, 2026, what can they do? What can they handle in a playoff push? And then that allows you to evaluate, okay, well, maybe we need to bump down a Bobby Brink and allow that spot to go to a Porter Martone and get in more skilled guys and maybe make a trade. Or, to Swoopy's point, right? I don't agree with not competing, though. You always got to compete, but you can do the roster moves that basically will set you up for future year success. But when you're the coach behind the bench and the players on that bench, you focus on that game, not what other teams are doing, to your guys' point, and what you can do to win that hockey game and take the 2 points.
Yep.
So now, just to take one last look at this. So in terms of the division leaders at this juncture, In the Atlantic, Tampa has got 78 points at number 1. Montreal has 72, and so does Detroit. And it's 2 and 3 because Montreal has the row, so they have the tiebreaker. As for the Metropolitan, you have Carolina, who is sitting at number 1 with 78 points. Pittsburgh's at 2 with 70, and the Islanders are at 69. Now, what's weird about that is if the Metro had been, if Buffalo was in the Metropolitan, Buffalo would actually have been, the Islanders be out right now in the wild card, and Buffalo would be 3. So it's kind of just goes to show how close this actually is. As for the way it's looking, do you see any of the division teams possibly falling out? I mean, obviously the Islanders seem to be the most suspect out of that, but again, we have to keep in mind that the Metro teams, the closest one to them is the Blue Jackets, and they're at 65 points, and so is the Capitals. So when you look at it from that angle, you know, do you see any of these teams slipping here down the stretch? You know, do you see a team like maybe Detroit slipping or Montreal slipping and falling off a little bit, and someone from the Atlantic jumping up, and that then allows a team in the Metro to take a wild card spot possibly?
I mean, if they need anybody to slip, it's going to be the guys that are within their division.
Correct.
And they're playing a lot of division games over the next few weeks. So
These are critical.
These are massive games for the Flyers moving forward. And the best way to do that, kick off tomorrow with a win. As far as who's going to falter, it's really going to be determined by what happens on next Friday. So with the trade deadline looming, and obviously we saw Pittsburgh get a little bit better, that's going to be the big question. So I don't see Pittsburgh really falling off now. And they've just been so consistent all season long, and they just got so much better on the blue line acquiring Sam Girard. Then if I have to pick a team, if I got a gun to my head and I got to pick a team, I would probably say potentially Columbus, just because they have a lot of young studs on that team as well. So that there's a possibility there. Goaltending could be considered suspect at some points, but honestly, I don't know if anybody does. Flyers might have to play spoiler and start stealing some stuff.
What about you, Robbie? What are you thinking? You think anybody in the division might slip possibly down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think it depends on the severity of the injury to Sidney Crosby. Now, reports are that he could have played Sunday. He was close to playing Sunday in the gold medal game, so maybe he will be back soon. But if he's not back for that Pittsburgh Penguins team being the leader, I could see them taking a slip because they were already overachieving, right? And Crosby was having sort of a renaissance, right, and playing very, very well and leading that team. But they had to see, it's tough because they do have some of the younger pieces that can step up, but will they step up? So if I had to pick one team to slip, I think it would be the Pittsburgh Penguins.
All right then. I mean, I would say the team that I think would be the most likely to slip out of anyone in the divisions right now, I mean, I would argue and say that the Islanders could. I mean, 69 points is not as massive of a leap as, as it could be. I think that it's possible that they could fall off here. In the Atlantic wise, I mean, I'm not ragging on them because they're young, but I definitely feel like maybe Montreal, if they if they have a rough patch that they hit, I could see Montreal slipping into a wild card spot. I don't think they go any further than that. I think if they do fall out of the division, they stay in the wild card. I think Montreal makes the playoffs, but I feel like that would be a team in the Atlantic that could fall off and go into the wild card. And if they do, they'll stay there. I don't think that they would wind up falling off any further. So that's just my view on it. So I feel like the Islanders would be the team that I feel like could fall off on the Metro. And I feel like Montreal might be the one that might fall off in the Atlantic. And I could possibly see a team taking over a spot from one of them.
I just feel that Islanders have made too sound of moves setting up this
Mhm.
team for the playoffs. So I think they stay put. But you make a real good point with Montreal. You know, Montreal is only 2 points ahead of the Sabres, 3 points ahead of the Boston Bruins. So there's striking distance there. Rather, I mean, don't get me wrong, Blue Jackets are only 4 points behind the Islanders, but I feel they could stave them off as they start to maybe get exhausted from their hot round of hockey, prior to the break. If you're looking over, I thought we were focusing on the Metro with the question, but looking all around the league, right? Look for potentially the Minnesota Wild to fall off. And I mean, now I think what that would be is maybe falling into the 3rd seed, giving Dallas the home ice advantage in a potential first round playoff, because beyond that, when it comes to the division, I think there's not many. I mean, you got Utah, which is clear 14 points off, so it's not any further than that, you know. But if they do slide, I feel like they could slide past the Stars. And that would be like if Wild have hope of winning that first round matchup, home ice would certainly help, right, boys?
It would. Definitely would.
Yeah, 100%. As far as the Islanders go, they've made too many sound moves already. Like I said last week, Andre Palat, good deal. Carson Soucy, good deal, and then they're a really sound defensive team with Ilya Sorokin leading the charge in net, plus 23 on the season as far as their goal differential. So they're doing something right in New York, and I don't know. I can't see them falling.
All right. So as we move forward, anything else we wanted to talk about in terms of the standings or the Flyers and Caps preview wise?
I will say this. I sort of alluded to it when we were talking about the Caps. I believe we did live reactions to that February 3rd matchup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But Tom Wilson leading the team in goals and points. You don't like the guy, but you'd love to have him on your team because he just brings such a physical presence as well as score sheet ability. It's a word. I just made it up. Jacob Chychrun plus 23 on the season has come as advertised. So, I mean, he's a strong defensive presence for them. Believe it or not, could you guess who the Flyers plus minus leader is?
Well, fortunately, we know it's not Michkov.
Yeah, that's right. It's Noah Cates with a plus 15.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
100% believe that. Noah Cates, to me, is one of the most sound defensive, or I should say, two-way players that the Flyers have.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why I like him as much as I do, and I was happy they signed him to a 4-year contract extension is because of his blue-collar ability. You know, he can give you 40 points a year, but the fact that he can play really sound defensive hockey, I think says a lot for how he plays just his game as a complete package. He's a complete player.
Right. He's got the 200-foot game.
Mm-hmm.
Prism saying, to me, depends on Crosby with the Eastern Conference. Hope it's Detroit that slips, though.
I can see Detroit slipping, too.
Yeah. Buffalo is not a team to be trifled with. So, I mean, they are hot on the heels of both Montreal and Detroit. So, I would not be resting on my laurels if I was either one of those teams.
Last thing I'm excited about is seeing Sanheim coming back from the Olympics. I think of all the guys that went over to the Olympics. Now, mind you, he was just playing behind the scenes, not really coming up. What do you have? 1 assist in 5 games, but he played really well defensively and just absorbing that atmosphere, absorbing that locker room. I'm very much looking forward to Sandy really stepping into a number one role in the defense. He's already been there on this team, but people have already argued, is he really a number one? I think in these 26 games, Travis Sanheim could show you, I'm a number one.
Yeah, especially playing with the guys that he played with. A lot of his teammates were number one defensemen on their teams. You had your Drew Doughty. You had your Cale Makars. Just to name just the first two that popped into my head. Those are
Right.
two really good guys to learn from because they're top tier defenders. You know, Cam McCarr, arguably the best defender in the NHL right now. So, actually, some people might argue Quinn Hughes right now, but yeah, we'll just for the point of the argument we're having right now. Um, you know, you can learn so much from those guys as
Oh,
still a relatively young defenseman on how to make your game so much better. It's such a good opportunity for him to hopefully continue to grow his game a little bit.
it's almost impossible not to bring anything back from that experience, Maddie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you play with the best players in the world and you have a chance at an Olympic gold. You're going to remember, you're taking a lot out of that experience. Prism saying a 40-point player that plays defensively solid. Sounds like a guy you all used to have. Yeah. So do we name Noah Cates Superboy? Should we start calling him that now? No,
Right.
maybe not yet. That's putting the cart before the horse. He's got to score a couple of clutch goals on the Islanders in a playoff series before we can do
Right.
that.
But it shows what his role will be on this team. He'll be your fourth line center when this team is full out.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? And like maybe you have like a Gurbenkin with Cates and Bobby Brink be your fourth line, right? It just the thing of it is with Bobby Brink, right? If you move him down in the talent pool, you know, assuming some of these prospects work out, does he really have the size to play on a fourth, you know what I mean, a fourth line? Like that'll be interesting. So, but in the end, you know, we all love him. He's a guy that can finish and score. You'd love to keep him on the squad. But this roster is going to be changing a lot over the next year to two.
Unfortunately, to kind of dispute what Priz just said, Scotty Lawton has 15 points since being traded to Toronto.
Wow.
Well, we got
So
the most out of him, so that's all that matters.
not only do you have Nikita Gurbenkin, who looks like he's going to be an absolute fun player to watch. You got a first round pick out of that for a guy who has 15 points since being traded. He's been solid defensively, and I'll give him that because that's always going to be his game. He's a defensive player, and he's always going to be that sound wall that you need back there. But his offensive production has just absolutely just fallen off a cliff since being traded.
Well, plus also keep in mind too, he's playing in an environment that's very different in terms of.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah,
for sure.
And lower line minutes too.
Yeah, yeah. So he was
15 points.
Yeah. He was in a much bigger role in Philly. The first saying that he's honored that I remembered how Lawton got his name. How could I forget? How could I forget the 2 times he won 2 games for us against the Islanders? Can't forget those at all. And I remember we live reacted to the one that pushed Game 7. So
just to
what
throw
a moment.
Yeah, just to throw Cates stats out there. Just last year, 37 points. This year, through 56 games, he's got 26. So I'll take the offensive production with the solid defensive play from Cates all day over Lawton.
Okay.
Sorry, Scotty. Love you, mean it, and I do. Once a Flyer, always a Flyer. But the Flyers got the better end of the deal.
Yeah. So on to our next topic here, which is Team USA. Finally, the United States gets one on Canada. It took so long for the U.S. to finally beat Canada in hockey. So much frustration. You can go back to 2010 when Crosby scored the goal in overtime that gave Canada the gold medal. To be fair, it was in Vancouver. And then, of course, who could forget the Four Nations face-off that happened not that long ago? Connor McDavid scoring in a very intense political atmosphere at that time. So I guess you could argue Canada had the moral high ground on that one. But then again, they also booed the national anthem. So, I think hockey gods kind of got them back for that. But anyway,
Stevens.
Yeah. So the U.S. gets through a rough game against Sweden. They absolutely obliterate Slovakia to get to the gold medal match against Canada. Canada, though, had 2 really rough matchups that they had to get through to get to the gold medal match.
Mm-hmm.
They did not look great, ironically enough. Like, they had to do the comeback kid match against the Czech Republic. They had to do the same thing against Finland. And of course, everyone wants to point out that, Gudis did that hit on Crosby that hurt him. But, it's Gudis. What the fuck do you expect? Anyway, the point being is that in the gold medal match, the U.S. scored first. Matt Boldy put a nice little shot by
That was
Bennington.
filthy.
Absolutely. I mean, that was beautiful. Anyone who wants to dap Mel Boldy can kiss my ass on that one. That was a really nice move he pulled.
Gorgeous.
And then Cale Makar, the best offensive defenseman in the game. What a shock. He ties it up for the Canadians. And to be fair, in this game, it was pretty much Canada. They were dominating this game. Like, they had so many shots down. But, man, give Hellebuck the credit. Oh, my God. That guy was the reason that the U.S. won this game. No doubt about it. Hellebuck, he crushed them. Crushed any chance. Now, to be fair, Nate MacKinnon did miss a wide open net and hit the side of the net.
Yeah.
Which McKinnon's probably still seeing in his sleep right now. And
there was also that, I forget who shot it, but that basically wide open net stuff that basically Connor Hellebuck just absolutely outmuscled to keep the puck out of the net. So that's, obviously the one takeaway for Team USA throughout this entire tournament was always going to be the strength of the goaltending and how is everything going to hold up in front of them. Well, Swayman didn't look so great in the preliminary in the round robin portion, but after they put in Hellebuck, there was a fire and they just went. So, that game was exactly what we expected it to be as far as the gold medal game.
Yeah, it was intense, very intense. And then we go to OT, and wouldn't you know it, Jack Hughes, he's been a star the entire Olympics for the U.S., and wouldn't you know it, he buries the golden goal for not only to win the gold medal, he did it against Sweden too. So you know what? Probably the only time I'm ever happy to see him score. Probably the only time. But, hey, I'll take it. Jack Hughes wins the gold medal for the United States. They do a very heartfelt tribute to Johnny Gaudreau and his family. Awesome. Beautiful moment there. Team USA finally wins a gold medal for the first time since 1980. Ironically, the same day that they had the Miracle on Ice against the Soviet Union, the U.S. beats Canada for an Olympic gold medal. You could not write this better if you tried. This was such a magical moment. And I'll be honest with you, boys. I feel like the U.S. needed this gold medal. I feel like the U.S. needed to win this game against Canada. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I truly feel like that 100%.
I think so. I mean, you're talking to someone that was there in person in 2010, feeling that heartbreak. And I was there for most of that tournament, drunk, but I was there for most of that tournament. Great skiing, Whistler, awesome. But yeah, they needed this. I mean, and we talked about Johnny Gaudreau and his family being in attendance. They needed it too. I mean, just on a personal standpoint, right? You never get over tragedy, but you can heal scar tissue, and this helps. It helps guys like the Kachuk brothers, right? Who's been bleeding red, white, and blue, and you get you get there close in the Four Nations, and then you get defeated, and then you come back here, and they're guys that this was not exhibition hockey. They're playing for keeps. But the fights from Four Nations showed you that much, as well as the hard checking that we saw. U.S. got off to a great start in this game thanks to their energy and leadership. The USA, they dominated on their road to this gold medal game. Like you said, Maddie, with Sweden being the only country to give them a sweat, while Canada had to play catch up in the quarters and the semis. In this game, after the USA went on that tirade in the first period, Canada came back and shot their load in that second period, amassing a ton of shots. But like you said, Hellebuck stood absolutely on his head. And you really saw in the third period a shifting there, especially around the 16-minute mark, where the USA just slowly started to dictate the pace, absorb the blows, and they outworked and outwilled Canada in the third to get the gold. So it's just, yeah, you couldn't have scripted any better being on the same day as the USA beating the Russians. And it's just, you think of all the kids that grew up in the USA Developmental League, right? That this feels good. This I'm talking like, all the way back to like Johnny Leclerc. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're all celebrating with this group, and this shows that for the kids that are playing Pee Wee and that they can be a gold medalist too, and it's just going to inspire hockey in all the nations, but specifically in USA, where it's not always been the most popular sport. This is going to change things, boys.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, obviously 1980 inspired a lot of young American players who got into hockey later on. I mean, obviously I'm sure that had an effect on players like Mike Modano and John Leclerc, as you had mentioned before, because they had to have been kids by that point where they were watching that happen. And then eventually they went on to become some of the best US born players, period, at that time. And then, the World Cup, the US beat Canada in the mid 90s. John Leclerc and, Mike Modano had a part to play in that. And then just like then, this is going to be huge for those kids now who are growing up in America wanting to play hockey. They're going to want to be Jack Hughes. They're going to want to be Austin Matthews. They're going to want to be Connor Hellebuck. These are going to be idols for them as they continue to move forward into hockey. It's going to be great for the sport in the U.S. It really is to see them win this gold medal.
And it's not even just for the guys; it's for the women too.
Yeah,
I mean, look at
congratulations
look at how the
to them too. Yeah,
yeah. So
absolutely.
First of all, I think the four nations left really bad taste in the mouth of Team USA, and I think having most of that roster from the four nations in the Olympics, I think that's kind of part of the reason why Bill Guerin kind of built the roster the way he did.
Yeah.
They wanted it more. They just wanted it more, especially in the second half of that game. Boldy definitely set the tone, getting that first goal. You give up a heartbreaker to Cale Makar, which honestly, Hellebuck probably should have made that save.
It's still a good shot, though.
Oh, it was a great shot, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's Makar's go-to shot.
It is. It is.
But I mean, it was absolutely, he got all of it. But building up all that momentum into the third period, being able to stay in this game, Hellebuck making those massive saves, and to be able to figure out how to. And this is why I think that Team USA went a little bit more physical with some of their choices. You saw when Connor McDavid on the I guess it was the one-on-one tried to make a power move. Whoever was playing defense on that side just absolutely bodied him and kept him out. And then have Zach Werenski be able to body Nate McKinnon and basically push him off the puck to set up Jack Hughes for that game winner. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit more size than Canada, but I mean, Team USA was able to utilize it a lot more. So I think that was a huge thing too. But to swing over to the women real quick, you got to tip your cap to the women. I think the women had a much more dominant tournament. I don't think anybody expected them to do what they did. Erin Frankel, first of all, tip of the cap to her, creating history, only giving up 2 goals throughout the entire tournament. And to have set the shutout streak, I think it's like 133 minutes or something along those lines, of just shutout hockey on probably the biggest stage that she's ever going to play on. Maddie, everything you just said about people growing up in America and hockey growing, that showing by Hillary Knight, Taylor Heisey, that entire group. First of all, the PWHL is going to grow because of this.
Yep, I was about to say that.
And just women's hockey in general, it is popular in our area. There's a few teams around here, As far as just developmental leagues and leagues for girls to grow up and play in. It's just going to make it that much better, and we're going to see this. We see this moving forward, and I love it for the women.
Yeah, absolutely. And all I'm going to say is too for the PWHL, please, by the hockey gods, put a team in Philadelphia. Please put a team in Philly. I would love to see a women's hockey team in Philadelphia.
100%.
You know, so
great for Hannah Bilka.
Yeah, and yeah, and congratulations to the women too, who, like you said, Bri, they absolutely crushed it in this Olympics. They dominated the entire time. You know, you could have been confused if you knew nothing about hockey and you just watched the women's play. It's like, oh, so the U.S. is really the best team in hockey ever. It's like, no, normally that is not how this goes. Normally the U.S. is playing second fiddle to Canada, but no, it was the total opposite in this go around for the women. They just crushed it the entire tournament. And congratulations for setting Olympic record history, like being the best goaltender period in the history of ice hockey in the Olympics. Congratulations. Like, she's standing on a mountain all by herself over some legendary names. I mean, men and women combined. She's standing over players like Brodeur, Tretiak. I mean, we're talking about some amazing goaltenders, and she's at the top. So congrats to her.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's crazy is once Canada scored their first goal, I was literally thinking in my head the entire time until Hilary Knight was able to get that tip. I was literally thinking to myself, have we ever seen a team give up 2 goals throughout an entire tournament and not win it all? I was literally thinking to myself, gave up 2 goals and they're walking away with the silver medal. What is happening right now?
Right.
That would have been just absolutely bananas.
You're right. Craziness. Now, I will say it's a great moment for the U.S. on both sides. So congratulations to both the men and the women teams. You both earned it. You deserve your gold medals. Wear them with pride. Bleed the red, white, and blue for the next 4 years until the next Winter Olympics. You fucking earned it, and you deserve it. As for this comment here from YK37272, what's going on, my man? Saying, what's up, guys? I'm interested to see how the Flyers do. Also, gonna be interesting with the Caps since they're getting healthy for home stretch of the season. Should be a great game. I agree. Should be a great game there. One last thing before we say goodnight. I feel like we should address this. The controversy surrounding the gold medal victory for Team USA for on the men's side of things. I'm just going to say this right now. John Cooper's an ass. That man is a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I have no respect for John Cooper anymore. It's like, you want to fucking bitch and moan about the rules after you benefited from the rules twice in the tournament. And then you want to complain because you lost the gold medal. Let's face it. Team Canada played like shit by their standards. Let's call it what it is. For them, that's shit. They should have played better. There's nothing more to it. And in the gold medal match, Connor Hellebuck stonewalled you. You just have to admit it. You didn't get the job done. You didn't get the job done, Coop. That's all I got to say about that. That was very unsportsmanlike and disgusting behavior on his part. Absolutely disgusting.
And if it was the NHL, I'd say he probably has a little bit of a gripe there. But I mean, we're talking Olympic committee. We're talking about this isn't NHL rules. None of this was NHL rules.
Right.
So you just take it on the chin. Like I know that like 3-on-3 is not traditional, but nothing about Olympic hockey is traditional.
Right. And also you coach in the league where it's a standard form. So it's like, it's not like this was sprung on you and this is done in another league. So it's like, it's done in the NHL. So
it just shows he's a man of zero accountability and making excuses. And he comes from a book smart, right? Like not ever playing the game. So that's all that needs to be said about that. On a positive note, I left a little bit when you're talking about the girls. Megan Keller, the most gorgeous goal. I'm sure you guys talked about it, but also it was just a celebratory time all around. You saw Hilary Knight got engaged during the Olympics, so out there in Milan Cortina. So that just added to the storybook atmosphere, Maddie.
Absolutely. So All I got to say is no matter what anyone says, no matter the bitching and the moaning at the end of the day, all I got to say is you lose one time and you're going to complain. Get over it. Also, this is how the hockey gods are going to even it out. Canada, you're getting the Stanley Cup back this year. I'm going to call it now. Connor McDavid won the Four Nations, and I knew right then and there a Canadian team was not winning the Stanley Cup. Hockey gods are going to even it out this year. Canada, the cup's coming home. So calm your tits. A Canadian team's winning the cup this year. It's either going to be Winnipeg because of Hellebuck, or it's going to be the Oilers because McDavid's going to be pissed that he won a silver. So there you go. That's what's going to happen.
I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be Winnipeg. Winnipeg is sitting way down at the bottom.
That's a good point. I forgot. Winnipeg is pretty low, aren't they?
Not used to that.
Yeah, I am not used to that. Oh, well, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about that. However, though, Edmonton, yeah, I'm looking at that. I think it'll be Edmonton at the end of the day.
Or Montreal?
Could be Montreal.
Could be. And it would be ironic, wouldn't it? Because they're the ones who started the cup drought. So wouldn't it be funny if they ended it? It'd be kind of hilarious. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Won't be Toronto.
No. I mean, they're not out of it statistically, but spiritually, yeah, they're kind of out of it. Who knows? Watch it be Ottawa. Watch it be fucking Ottawa. Watch Brady Tkachuk go on a tear. Anyway, so with that being said,
can we just give some appreciation to the 17-year-old version of me? Man, I was so good looking. What the hell happened?
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I never was. So.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. But yeah, my sister shared this picture with us. Oh my goodness. And it was funny too that I just didn't realize how good I had it back then. I just didn't realize. I had no idea.
Hindsight's 20.
Now I do some shoveling and I can't get out of bed. Oh my god. Time is a vicious bedfellow.
Right. Speaking of time, we have enjoyed our time here once again with everybody here at the fam. And of course, speaking about the sport that we love, that we hope grows exponentially with the wins of the gold medals here for the U.S. And we hope that you guys enjoyed this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. And next week, we will be back into the swing of things for the NHL season as the Flyers will be back to playing their schedule. As we know, they'll be playing Washington tomorrow. And as for next week, let me just take a quick look here. Do we have a game to react to? No, we do not, because they will be playing Monday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we will get to review what happens between the Flyers and Leafs and give a preview of their matchup against the Mammoth. That would be that Thursday on the 5th. So that will be the games that we would be in between of.
I mean,
anyway,
you gotta love a good therapy session. So, depending on how this game goes.
Right.
Appreciate you, Priz.
Absolutely. Thank you, Priz. And well, I mean, hopefully it won't have to be a therapy session. Hopefully it'll be a dancing on Toronto's grave session. I mean, hey, listen, the whole league gets to participate in that. It's fun to watch that. Toronto talks the most shit and they embarrass themselves every year. It's such a fun thing to see. Anyway.
Beat down Toronto and then stir up the Austin Matthews, the Philly.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
He's sick of losing.
Yeah.
Come here and lose.
He wins a gold in the Olympics, and he's like, yeah, I don't feel like winning shit for Toronto. But anyway, so with that being said, we will see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. From all of us here, Matt Sassuti, Brian Daly, Rob Povia, you stay safe, you stay healthy out there. We were brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Until then, though, we'll see you next time. Peace and love, everyone. God bless the USA.